Welcome to Candy's Homestead. I'm Donna. I'm outside tending to an insect problem with our pecan trees. We only have 2 pecan trees, but they are full of, and they will decimate your trees. And we were able to, I'm standing beside it, we were able to get most of them out. There's a few in the extreme top canopy we just can't reach. So I'm going to have to rely on them coming down in the late fall or after our first frost. Actually, I think they'll come down right before the first frost and go back into the ground. But we got the ones out that we could, and we used a long telescoping pole saw, and we used a telescoping chainsaw, a little small mini chainsaw. My husband helped me, and we cut those worms out. And oh, man, it's so hot out here, and the gnats and the mosquitoes are terrible. I wanted to show you what we do to get rid of them. I would not have had this problem had I taken care of the prevention in the spring, but I didn't get to it, so now we're having to deal with it. But there was too many, and if we hadn't have taken them out, they would have destroyed my pecan trees. Let me show y'all what these worms are. They came out of our pecan tree, webworms, and you have to pull them out and you have to burn them, or they will find their way back into your trees, but they will decimate all the leaves on your trees. We cut them out and we're burning them with the torch. There's a nest in there full of worms. See those worms? This one here has a lot in them. But if you cut them down and just put them in a burn pile and let them be until you get around to burning, they'll leave the nest and they'll find their way back into your trees. And this is what they'll do to the tree. They will decimate all this. This is where leaves are supposed to be. I'm sorry that torch is loud. It leaves a nasty mess. Based on the weight of the limbs that we brought over, we feel like there was at least 30 pounds of worms. Now I hauled about 5 tractor bucket loads of limbs to the burn pile, but since we weren't ready to burn the actual burn pile, I burned all of these worms here on the driveway. But if you don't burn every single one, they will find their way back into the tree. Now the way that I prevent this, which I did not do this year, is in the spring, early spring, I come to the base of this tree and I slather Tanglefoot, several inches wide of Tanglefoot. I have to buy it in a large container, and I just slather this in a ring all the way around the tree. And they come out of the ground in the spring around this tree, and they find their way up the tree. But when I put all that Tanglefoot around the tree, that's a gooey, sappy barrier, and they can't crawl over it. Now, it's not 100% prevention. We end up with some worms up in the tree anyways, but it's just a few. But without doing it, the tree gets loaded every year. They come down in the fall right before frost, and I have actually seen them come down in armies. That was the year before I started putting the Tanglefoot on the tree. And they will come down and then go back into the ground, and they'll lay their eggs, larvae, or whatever it is that they lay, and they stay in the ground until the spring, and then they emerge as young fuzzy worms. They look like caterpillars when they're young, and then they will make their way up this tree, and they'll start creating those nests in the webs. Now I'm going to tell you, those webs are super strong. You cannot penetrate them. They're hard to tear open, and they survive hurricane force winds, and it's a protective barrier for them. But when they're mature and they come down, they almost have a shell around their bodies, which maybe you could see in the video where I was burning them. But when they're young, they look like a yellow, fuzzy, tiny caterpillar. Here on our property, the only tree, well, we have 2 pecan trees, but that's the only tree that we experience these worms and the bags that they create up in the top canopy. And they chew all the leaves. They strip the limbs and leaves and just leave bare twigs. And it causes a lot of damage to the tree, and it also prevents a good harvest of the pecans. I don't know what other kind of trees that they get in. I feel sure that they get in a lot of other trees, but here in our area, the pecan tree is the only tree that we experience these worms. Well, that's what I wanted to show y'all. And I do have a lot of pecans falling off of the tree, so they are about ready. These are no good here, but they are falling. There's still a lot of green ones, so it's not quite time for it's between September and October here. The ones that are falling, either the birds, the squirrels, or the wind has knocked them down. I haven't seen any in the when they're ready, they usually will fall out of the shell. A few you might have to take out of that outer shell, but I haven't seen any that are in the brown case like a pecan you would get from a farmer's market or maybe even the grocery store. But they are due really soon to be ready for me to pick up. And we still have a lot of them on the tree. We had to sacrifice a lot when we cut limbs. You can see a few here on the drive and some on the limbs here. But like I said, I hauled, I think, 5 bucket loads with the tractor over to the burn pile, and some of those had pecans on them too. So we had to sacrifice some to get to these worms, but the tree will be healthier and better. And after they come down out of the tree, after the first freeze, I will come out here and I will slather the base of this tree with the Tanglefoot, and then in the spring, hopefully, I can get another layer on that tree before they emerge out of the ground and start to head to the tree. So I just wanted to show y'all what happens when you get the bagworms in your trees, and the fastest remedy to take care of them. You can see all the dead ones. This is the fastest way, because I promise if you do not burn them and kill them right away, they will find their way back into your tree. And like I said, you can only burn them to penetrate that web or that sack that they're in. It's impossible to tear them apart, and it's impossible to penetrate using like an insect killer. It's not going to work. Burning is the best method. Okay, I hope y'all found this informative. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see y'all on the next video. Bye-bye.